Yeah. Okay. So today I'm going to share with you some news. The first news is that augmented reality app for kids going to surgery launch at Surrey Hospital. Okay, so this news is bcctvnews.ca. So it's on CTV News. If you are interested in taking a look, it's the title is called Augmented Reality App for Kids Going into Surgery launched at Surrey Hospital, and it is written by, I think, CTVNewsVancouver.ca staff. Okay, so let's take a look of the news. And in Vancouver, there was a very interesting hospital. They integrate augmented reality into their children's hospital in their surgery room, right? So this year, I got actually I went back to Taiwan and having my surgery. I was diagnosed there was a 14 centimeter benign tumors in my uterus. So yeah, I had to did my surgery. And what I found this news very interesting is that I remember back then when I was doing surgery, I was so nervous because I haven't done any surgery before. And yeah, that surgery was really big. And then yeah, I was pretty panicked, but I have to do it, right? But as for children, yeah, imagine if they are going to have a surgery. Yeah, like they must be really, really, you know, panic, right? So in this hospital, um, in the this hospital, they integrate a lot of very interesting illustrations in their surgery room. So kids can use their phone and doing some, taking, they have a lot of cute squirrels, right? And trees, and kids inside the surgery room. Kids can use phone and the squirrel will start teaching or helping the kids to ease the panic. For example, like one of it is that, oh, look at I have a really cool wrist, like a band, wristband. Do you have one? Right. So instead of, nurse is trying to, check out your wristband, it has some cute, cartoonish characters. And also, when you are doing surgery, you have to change to a surgical clothing, right? And then that squirrel or that cartoonish augmented reality character will also remind the kids to, wearing like dressing correctly for their surgery clothes. I think that is really helpful because when I was doing surgeries, I had to change the clothes, and there were like a few clothes for me to change, and I didn't even know which one I should pick. So yeah, and in the surgery room, pretty much you were alone, right? There will be no one. Your mom, your parents, or your friends need to be outside of surgery room. So I think this augmented reality device will definitely help the kids to learn better about the surgery with in a friendly way. Any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, again, I love this concept here. I've heard about this being used in the past, not only for kids but for adults or people with kind of longer term care inside of a hospital. So it's not only just to comfort the kids, but also for some of the kids who are staying in the hospital for longer periods of time, just to give them something to do. Because you can imagine if you're in the hospital for 30 days or more, it gets very boring, in there and kind of dealing with that. So to use AR and specifically VR in this case to kind of just entertain them, to keep them, you know, with the many things you can do with VR, to be able to travel around the world basically, or see virtual, games and stuff. It just makes the psychology of being cooped up like that and the nervousness of what's happening a little bit easier to swallow. But I do like the idea also of transitioning it to also education So for example, they're being entertained, but also adding a component where it can teach them how to maybe, take care of, however they were injured or whatever their condition is, to like better educate them on how to handle that as well. So I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dominique, I just want to say thank you for sharing that experience. That must have been hard for you, but thank you for being open and sharing that with us. One of my sisters actually did a study at Cincinnati Children's Hospital about transgender and the use of VR in the clinics there, at post-op or what have you. I may be butchering that a little bit. It turns out that people really enjoy this stuff. The quality of care increases significantly, and I'm excited to see more hospitals, clinics, etc. adopt this type of advanced methodologies, because you can extract some really juicy data from it, right? That Likert scale of how are you feeling. Could that be interactive in some way? And like you mentioned, Dom, with the squirrels in the trees, or just holding up a tablet to the wall and it coming alive as they're sitting there in bed day after day after day after day. That's really something. So I hope to see this increase. I hope this becomes normalized in hospital situations, these augmented and virtual reality situations, because it really does have an impact. If you're bedbound, just being able to put on some goggles and go experience another room, another world, another existence. Wow. That's maybe they can put a smile on their face for once after being in so much pain. So I think it's great. I want to see more.
Yeah, thank you, Alan and Stefan, sharing. Yeah, I think this is definitely like one of the very meaningful ways of using augmented reality. And another news is in psypost.org. And the title of the news is called Virtual Reality Study Shades Light on What Happens When Your Brain Cannot Tell Which Way is Up or Down. This post was written by Christian Rigg. Okay, so before we mentioned that in VR, pretty much because you couldn't really sense the existence of your whole body, so your time, it will kind of shorten the time in your perceptions. For example, like you might spend 10 minutes more than usual playing games or something, because in virtual reality, it wrapped time, right? Your sense of time will be different from the reality when you immerse yourself inside VR. And another research shows that actually not only time, these perceptions, but also up and down, you probably cannot tell as well. So in this research, pretty much they the participants to line up and lying down. Yeah. So and then inside the VR headset, it puts the locomotion, that types of VR experience. So for example, if you line up, you might feel like the participants describe that they feel like they are moving forward, right? Not like because you are lying down, it's like the direction is not moving forward, right? So according to the researchers says that due to this research, they kind of find out that our visual perception is much stronger than our sense of gravity, right? So from this research, so they kind of having some interesting finding, and this finding report would be really helpful for people, for example, if in the future we start landing people on Moon again or on Mars or other comets or asteroids, as low gravity environments might lead some people to interpret their self-motion differently. So with potential catastrophe results. So which means that, sometimes, yeah, because, like one of the reason why VR has, we got motion sickness inside VR space is because that our perception of body orientation is different from whatever we see, right? And then, but you see, like when people lying down, it's like still, right? It's like lying down. But when they receive a local motion, the types of VR, they feel like they are moving forward. So which kind of like eliminate or ignore the gravity, right? So it is very interesting. So it probably, this finding will kind of shows that what will be the problem when a lot of people start landing on the Moon or on Mars, because the sense will be a little different from each other. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on the news and any feedback?
Yeah, I think it is interesting when you start looking at some of these technologies, of course, whether we're living in VR or going to Mars or some of these other areas where gravity is not the same. That definitely makes sense that it would throw people off. I believe, it's interesting because when you get a cold, sometimes when you get a cold and your ears kind of clog up, I know I get dizzy sometimes, and it's probably the same effect that you have in VR, where maybe the senses inside the ear aren't kind of keeping up with what you're seeing or how you're feeling the world around you. So it does tend to make you dizzy, and the same thing happens in VR when all the different senses aren't kind of communicating correctly, I guess. But it doesn't surprise me that the eyes are probably, well, in most cases, most people, the eyes aren't the most dominant kind of sense that you have, because we kind of, see the world around us and we're kind of making sense of what's going on. When you get in VR, of course, you lose some of those other senses and you're pretty much just seeing, what's around you. But yeah, it's definitely going to make a big difference in, when we start exploring other planets and outer space as well. So very interesting.
Yeah, I've always found this up-down concept to be pretty amazing. It's planet-bound, right? But once you get into space, there's no such thing as up or down or left or right or whatever. It's all relative positioning at that point. And I think that's a new experience for a lot of people. Our muscle memory, our perception is geared towards this planetary existence. And how do we, touching back to the simulation conversations and training conversations that we've had in the past couple of sessions, it's just one more thing to be able to understand how to perceive existence in in a different spatial way. I think that was probably one of my most profound experiences with VR. Actually, my first experience is when I was put into space, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't feel the floor anymore. Like I know in my brain, I'm in a room and my friend's over there, and but it doesn't feel like it. It felt like I was just in my body, just floating out in space. And that's so incredibly powerful. Dominique, you were talking earlier about you're sitting still or lying down, but you still feel that forward momentum, that forward force. And it just goes to show that old saying of perception is reality is true. When we can hijack these senses and hopefully we don't cross them too bad, if we can really have some profound effects and transplant our self, our perception, and our perception of the self to these other great experiences. So I don't know, it's probably a little bit of a ramble, but I've always loved this this concept, just a small concept that out in space, there's no up or down because it's just space. It's 360, right? Yeah.
And there's a couple of apps that kind of showcase those feelings. One of my favorite ones is the plank one. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's where you go to the top of the building and you walk up. And oddly enough, I tried that the other day, and it just is, as much as you kind of convince yourself that you're standing in your living room, there's a it just takes your visual, just seeing everything takes over. And then the other one is the ISS experience. Again, I don't know the exact name of the app, but it basically allows you to go into the International Space Station and be weightless, and you have to navigate through it by grabbing onto stuff and pulling yourself through. But what's interesting is that the way that's set up, there is really no up or down. I mean, it's basically everything is just there, and you find yourself kind of thinking you're one orientation, then you look out the window and realize the Earth is the other direction. So it does kind of fool with your senses a little bit, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, you can definitely get dizzy for sure.
I'll have to check that one out today. It's the ISS.
Yeah, it's actually free. Yeah, it's part of the Quest. But yeah, it was actually free. The other one is a paid one, just kind of a fun game. But yeah, the ISS, and again, it's an interesting experience because you do get to, there's different levels. You get to train, so you get to do experiments, you get to kind of explore the actual station itself, and then you can kind of go through it and see the different parts and interact with it. So it's a neat educational tool, but just to kind of get an idea of the expanse of what the space station is, and then just how you don't think about the guys that are on the actual space station, like how they have to get from one place to another. And so this tool kind of lets you experience what that would feel like. So it's very interesting.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I'll have to download that.
Yeah, thank you, Alan and Stephen's sharing. Yeah, I think, I played ISS before, and I find out, I don't know, maybe my brain is a little bit of concrete or something. So I find out that my brain couldn't accept the concept where I feel like it's uprighted, but all the, everything was tilted. So yeah, I think I got motion sickness after playing that game. But I find out that is great. If I was putting in a no gravity place, maybe I won't get motion sickness after playing ISS game. But after I took off the headset, I feel my head was extremely hurt because all the all the stuff is like a pretty tilted after I grabbed one bar, and I thought I am going forward, but actually something was a little off. So I don't know, like maybe
Yeah, well, I think too a little bit of it potentially has to do with how long you're in that environment, because again with VR, I don't spend too much time working with VR in one kind of setting.
Yeah.
But for example, I noticed when I used to go sailing, I'd spend the entire day out on the ocean, kind of, hopping up and down with the waves. And even after getting off of that, a couple hours later, I would still feel standing on solid ground, like I was kind of moving around a little bit. So I think, your brain starts to kind of keep a little bit of information over time, and that could have something to do with, the sensitivity as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. Okay, so let's take a look of another news, which is AXIOS, AXIOS.com. And the title is The Real Smell of Virtual Reality, written by Bryan Walsh, author of Future. Okay, so the real smell of virtual reality. Yeah, so in this article, it talks about OVR technology, right? So why it matters? Because VR can already simulate sight, sound, and a sense of movement, but adding smell can help stimulate memories and emotional experience, making VR it's like more real, right? So how it works, it requires a device called ION, which contains a lot of different sensors, and it's attached to a VR headset. So pretty much the OVR CEO Aaron W said that smell is the factor that can create a truly human experience in virtual reality. So it happens. So pretty much OVR has worked with a pair of Australian artists to create a climate change themed VR experience called Shifting Homes that will premiered at the Venice, the film festival Venice Biennale this weekend. Okay, so pretty much Shifting Home puts the user on Pacific island of Samoa, which is threatened by rising sea levels and storms worsened by climate change. And pretty much OVR will release, the smell of sandy beaches, or, the smell of the ozone. Yeah, when, there's something happens around the beach, pretty much you will kind of like feel like you are pretty much in the Pacific island of Samoa, and then being threatened by climate change. And you can smell the sand, you can feel it more by, smell this technology, OVR technology. And then, yeah, so I think this is a very cool application, and then OVR technology definitely can really help us to be more immersive, because we can see, we can sense, we can see, and we can sense, right, by all the haptical device, and we can feel, right, everything, but with the scent being covered, right? If you can smell flowers, or smell the scents of seas, or all the different smells in the environment, people or the user will feel more immersed. Any thoughts of the news?
Yeah, I think again with if you take a look at how psychology works, the kind of closer we are to the experience, or the more connected we are with the experience, the more it affects kind of how we feel about it. So that's why, if you were to look at an experience like on a roller coaster, if you saw it from very far away, it wouldn't bother you at all. But if you saw it like right in front of you, like you're actually on the roller coaster moving, even in a video, it affects you more. Like it makes you kind of feel the experience better, especially if it's in 3D and VR and stuff like that. So the same thing happens with all the other senses. When you're seeing something, but you're also hearing the noise that makes sense, for that specific activity, and then using the other senses, so motion, smell, of course, and things like that. The more of the senses that you can utilize in an experience, and also the ones that also make sense to that experience, the more real that experience is for you. So I was thinking the other day too, because I was in the house and it was very cold. We had the air conditioning on. But I was doing a VR experience where I was on a beach in like Tahiti or something, and it looked like it was very warm there, but the experience I was having was very cold because I was in the house, and I knew it kind of disconnected the experience a little bit. So yeah, even kind of having the environmental effects around you, would make a lot of sense as well. So yeah.
It's going to be a tough one to pull off at scale. I think if you want to, bring it to market, I can't wrap my head around how many different types of base smells they're going to need in order to, deliver. Because it's not like a pixel, right, where you can, or an LED, where it can represent, a collection of them can represent an image, and it's all universal, right? Depending on the color, I can change the image. The smell is going to be so tricky. So I mean, this reminds me of those like smell-o-vision things that from way back in childhood, we would read about smell-o-vision, and a way to further immerse your experience with television. And to me, it's always like, how in the heck unless you buy part of the game pack or something, and you get a little shipment in the mail and you connect it to your little device and it has all the essential oils or whatever's needed in order to bring you that experience. I think it's like, I agree with you guys, absolutely. It enriches that experience altogether, and it kind of like makes it a more wholesome encapsulation. But it's like, how in the hell are we going to pull this off at scale if we want to bring it to market?
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree. It's like anything else. The reason why we have the technology we have is because it's been able to scale. Like it's the cost has gone down enough, the technology is combined, well enough that we can have what we have. But yeah, the technology of smell, I'm familiar as well as you about like getting something in the mail, scratching it off, and then it's either perfume or whatever it happens to be. But yeah, to be able to kind of just I guess synthetically create that from not having the actual materials around to do it. I don't know that technology well enough, but that would have to exist in a more, I guess, a bigger kind of environment, and it would have to be cheaper and smaller to be able to incorporate with like a VR headset or something. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's not possible in the near future, right. But yeah, it definitely would have to be more possible. Yes. So.
Yeah, actually, I look up OVR technology. If you go to ovrtechnology.com, and you can scroll down, and you can see they have ScentWare, and also on top of it, it has software. Their software, it seems like OVR has simplified the brand's natural system for doing this and turned it into 2 languages, one for humans, another one for computers, and a software suite that let them communicate. So it pretty much be somewhere between your sense of smell, and also the computers. And it will create different algorithms based on how we perceive scent given our surroundings and the intention we allow the digital world to recreate the same scent experience we have in real world. I mean, like when I read this, it feels really vague and ambiguous, and it feels like a black box, like I still don't know how they create, but maybe they are using something to stimulate our system, like a neural system around scent, and kind of make us kind of fool our brain to feel like, oh, I smell, a nice rose, right? Or I smell, like some chocolate cake or something. Maybe it's using the signals to do that and connect it with your, whatever you see. You see a chocolate cake in VR space. Maybe that chocolate cake with, developer programming and that scent will kind of connect and I don't know, something, and make your brain thinks that that's chocolate cake without actually there is a scent inside. I don't know. It's for me, the sentence looks really blurry, but it has something to do with the neural system and the software. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, maybe that's possible. I don't know.
Yeah, again, I'd have to probably look further into the technology itself, and that's why this kind of world we live in right now is very fascinating with all these different types of I guess ideas that are coming out around. Instead of giving you the actual scent of the chemicals that require that, could you produce that some other way? Is there some other technology that can kind of help fake that in a way? So yeah, I mean that definitely is very possible. If you look at some of these major universities, they're doing a lot of experiments with all these different areas that these little things start in one of those places as an experiment, and then it turns into a full-fledged business at some point. So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how that goes. And I can see that working in a lot of different places. Definitely, even on PCs as you're browsing, the internet, with certain banners pop up potentially. It starts giving you the smell of cookies if it's a cookie company. So that's kind of how we experience when we go to the mall or we go out shopping. We experience those smells, and that sometimes incentivizes us to go to a specific restaurant or shop or something. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see the progress there.
I think I just want chocolate cake and cookies now for breakfast.
Nice. Maybe, for people who want to go on a diet, right? Diet. For me, I have my cheat days because, after surgeries, I told myself I have to keep myself, eat really healthy. So I quit, not really quit, but I only allow myself drink two bobas, small bottle bobas or small cups bobas, 2 days per week. So yeah, so if I can smell boba, right, and even though I'm drinking waters, or like make me for my brain, so I'm not like so addicted to sugars. I think that would be really helpful for people who are on diet. Like eating a piece of like healthy soda cookie, but when you eat it, your brain thinks that, oh, it's a chocolate, right? Chocolate cookies. That would be great. Yeah, that would be really good. Cool. Awesome. So another news is that a short one is Red Dead Redemption 2 is now VR compatible. So if you like to play games and you played Red Dead Redemption 2, and you might be really excited because they have VR compatible for PC versions. If you have a PC, and you can pretty much, play the VR version of Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, so yeah, I play one time, but because I'm so bad in in gun shooting, so I die a lot of times, so I just gave up. But if you are really interested in Red Dead Redemption 2 and want to try VR, just feel free to try it. Okay, so any thoughts, feedback, or any news you want to share?
I was hoping you would, you did get the Red Dead Redemption VR thing. I'm a huge fan of RDR too. And I hacked it way back when, like I put my index on, and it has like the desktop viewer, and I expanded that viewer so my whole frame of vision it was and then I opened up Red Dead, and I basically like tried to hack it in such a way that it was, but it never felt real. So I'm so excited to try this. Again, like Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favorite games ever, and now it's finally in VR. It's a mod, and the guy who did it, I guess, is he's done some really great stuff for GTA 5. Same company, Rockstar Games. So yeah, so excited. I'll have to check it out and probably report back in a later episode.
Is that for the Quest?
I think it's for, well, it'll probably be for Index.
PC.
Or anything on Steam. If you can run it, you could probably run it on your Vive, actually. I don't know if it's
I think
maybe the Quest S,
yeah,
or something that's tethered.
Yeah, Quest 2.
It's a beefy game.
Yeah,
That
PSVR.
seems pretty involved. But
yeah.
But I know that the Quest just came out with a new update. So yeah, I wasn't sure. I hadn't seen that on the site at all. But yeah, when it comes to games, I try my best not to do too much because I know I'll just spend forever playing with them rather than doing work. So it's I've kind of stayed away from it a little bit. But that's actually a really good game. I've seen it played before, and it's pretty interesting.
Cool. Any news you want to share or any thoughts for today's news? Pretty much we finished today's 4 news.
Yeah, I had one thing. I don't know if you covered it before. I missed a couple days here, but I saw a couple days ago that TeamViewer, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's kind of a remote utility that especially IT people use to kind of log into remote computers to control them. So that's typically how it's used, but it's also used for collaboration. So you can kind of go and collaborate with other people on projects within your computer. But I know they recently launched an AR app that allows you to use augmented reality to collaborate with other people remotely. So it gives you the ability to kind of walk up to anything with video and kind of annotate the environment, the virtual environment in front of you with virtual content, and the other person on the other side can see the same thing. So I thought that was an interesting. The company I work for, Avatar Partners, we have a product that does a similar thing. But I love the idea of being able to collaborate with people and actually see exactly what they're referring to. Whether it's just training or if it's doing some type of maintenance procedure or something. But I thought it was interesting that a bigger company like that was pursuing that type of technology.
Yeah, thank you, Alan, for sharing. And Stefan, do you have anything to say?
No, I was just going to talk about the Red Dead Redemption 2 if you didn't bring it up. But that's all I have.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for joining me today. And thank you, Ellen, to bring up the TeamViewer. And I look at the news. It's really, really cool because, we were thinking about before we were all talking about using HoloLens, right? You need to buy 3,000 HoloLens and you need to have a team. The budget is extremely high to create, something similar to that TeamViewer is achieving. But, instead of a AR glass, you use a phone, right? It's cheaper, and then everyone has it, and it makes sense to use phone instead of HoloLens, right? So I think TeamViewer is really smart and using some technologies before using the HoloLens, but right now just download an app and you can have multiple people video calls and having you can draw something on top of it. I think that is really helpful and reduce the cost and still kind of achieve the same results. Yeah, I think this is smart. Yeah, cool. Thank you everyone joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, bye bye.
Take care. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you so much. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.